Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining me today. Just 20 days out from Christmas, and because 'tis the season, super creative Clint Carroll will be here to give us some ideas for a festive holiday display, and you can incorporate it into your dining room, your kitchen island, wherever you want to add a little ho ho ho. Also today, you'll meet the Boterford family from Barnwell. Their teenage daughter, Jenna, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in September. And while that is very sad and scary, there are miracles in the darkness, as her parents will explain. Jenna's spirit and faith have inspired that small South Carolina community to come together and show massive support for #JennaStrong. First, though, a subject that's very painful to discuss, but talking about it is so important: teen suicide. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says suicide is the third leading cause of death among young people ages 15 to 24. Experts say if your teen is showing signs of depression, it's important that you talk with them face to face and show them you're interested in them. Don't ignore it.
I think parents need to remember that as scary as that conversation can be, as scary and as hard it is for you to ask your child how they're doing, it's important to know that your child is just as scared to come forward also.
So we have to make sure we're asking people in a genuine, authentic way that actually pulls for a genuine, authentic response. And that includes, are we in a private setting? Are we sending the message that we have time for them? Are we looking right at them? Do we have our phones away?
And remind them that you love them and you're going to be there for them no matter what.
Someone with a lot of insight into the issue of teen suicide is Emily Williamson. Emily's a senior at Augusta University now, and I met her 6 years ago or so. She was a teenager at the time, 16. And Emily, you had started a Facebook community. It was a page called Share Your Story on Facebook. And at the time, we thought it was just very brave and very bold of you to do that, putting yourself out there like that as a high school student. And I just want you to take us back there at that stage in your development. And what was it that you realized there needed to be a place for people to share their story, literally?
Well, it all started for me. I was 8 years old and my dad passed away very unexpectedly. It was ruled natural causes, but it was still really devastating being 8 years old and losing your best friend. And so that kind of started a really dark time in my life. I got really depressed and just thinking about why does this happen to me? And so I started to kind of shut things inside and not think about it, not talk about it, and just deal with it in my own time, in my quiet time. And then a couple years went by and I realized this pain is so much stronger and it's so much harder to deal with whenever I don't talk about it. And so I had stumbled across this page called To Write Love on Her Arms, and they had the same kind of idea, pain is so much stronger when no one knows that it exists. And so they started sharing their stories, and that just inspired me to create a safe place in my own community on Facebook where people in our community or all over the world could get together and share their story. Not so much that I was professional help by any means, but I'm someone who could say, I've been there, I know how you feel, and you can get through it too.
Did you have thoughts of suicide, or was for you it was just overwhelming pain that you were dealing with?
It was primarily overwhelming pain and depression. I don't think I could ever get to the point of being suicidal necessarily, but I recognized that a lot of people that I knew felt that way and that it was just traumatizing to them, and I didn't want to get to the point where I felt like I was going to take my own life.
Right.
So I wanted to reach out and get help before then, and thankfully I was blessed. I had a mom who was extremely involved, extremely loving and caring. She checked in with me all the time. And so whenever I started to tell her about the pain that I'm feeling and the things that I'm going through, it was refreshing to hear her first of all say, yeah, I am too, because she lost her best friend. And so that just reaffirmed the idea that whenever you share your story, that other people know how you're feeling, and it just makes you feel so much better, like you're not alone.
I think that in my own life, what I can relate that to a little bit is I suffered in my early 20s and mid 20s. I really suffered with panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and it was something that became very manageable for me with treatment, and I got through it. And now if I have a random panic attack, I know how to deal with it. I mean, that's been many years ago. But what it did for me was make me so cognizant of others. And when I see somebody and I can think they're having a panic attack. They think they're crazy and they don't
You know
want
how to
anybody
respond,
to know,
though. Yeah.
but I can relate. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like maybe that's what you're saying, because you had that tremendous loss as a little girl, and you grew up cocooning yourself, which wasn't the best thing to do. And you learned that it's important to talk and have that support system.
Oh yeah, and I think just like right now you sharing with me that you had panic attacks, I mean, you're somebody I've looked up to since I was 13 years old. I've always just, Jennie Montgomery, she's amazing, and I would have never thought that you would have struggled with something. So knowing that you too have struggled, it makes me feel like less crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's powerful that you tell people that.
Oh,
so.
well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what is powerful? Suicide doesn't take away the pain. It gives it to someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
That's really deep. Somebody else is going to mourn you. Sometimes strength is the ability to thrive in the midst of hopelessness, and that's you.
That was one thing I always tried to
Yeah.
look for. Like, I realized that stuff I was going through, it was a horrible time, and I didn't understand it. Sometimes I still don't understand why
Right.
things happen the way they do, but I always tried to remind myself that, like, you can still make a beautiful thing happen out of something that's fallen apart.
Right. And you don't give up, and that's so
Yes,
important,
ma'am.
that last picture there. One thing that I really, really like too is that everywhere on that page you have the national hotline, the
Yes, ma'am.
suicide hotline. And we've had that number running up for you as well. It's 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. That's just an important number to know. And as the counselors were saying at the beginning of this segment, talk about it. If you recognize it, if you think somebody may be dealing with it, don't keep it to yourself. Engage them in a conversation.
Absolutely. You never know the difference that it'll make. A secret becomes far less powerful when you get it off of your chest.
And you know where you are right now in college, you've got a lot of people dealing with this stuff, and there is a
Absolutely.
place for help.
Absolutely. Augusta University has a counseling department, and you can go in there as a student. It's completely free. You go and you can talk to the counselors. I think it's amazing, and it's very well advertised on our campus, and I think that's really important.
Emily, thank you for getting the word out. Thank you for caring.
Thank you.
Thank you for, even as a teenager, having a heart for others. I appreciate you talking over some of those encouraging posts that we were looking at today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Emily.
It's good to see you too.
We'll be right back.